Welcome to our channel, where we delve into the darkest corners of reality. Today we bring you 3 spine-chilling true horror stories that happened on the 4th of July. But behind the joyous facade, darkness festers, waiting to erupt. Prepare yourself for a journey into the unknown. The air crackled with anticipation, the sweet scent of barbecue smoke mingling with the sulfurous tang of recently extinguished fireworks. The Miller family, eager to end their 4th of July celebration with a bang, piled into their car and drove towards the outskirts of town. They were drawn by a flickering neon sign that simply read "Fireworks," its garish glow promising a spectacular end to their evening. The vendor, a gaunt man with eyes that glinted in the darkness, greeted them with a disconcerting smile. He offered them an array of fireworks, each more extravagant and enticing than the last. There was an eagerness in his voice, a strange intensity that set the Millers on edge, but the allure of the dazzling pyrotechnics overshadowed their unease. They returned home, their trunk laden with boxes of explosive potential. As they set up the first firework, a Roman candle, a sense of foreboding settled over them. The fuse hissed and spat, but the firework refused to ignite. John Miller, the father, leaned in closer, inspecting the fuse, when suddenly a cold wind whipped around them, extinguishing their porch light and plunging them into darkness. A blood-curdling shriek pierced the night. Sarah, the youngest, pointed a trembling finger towards the box of fireworks. A faint, ethereal glow emanated from within. John cautiously approached the box, his heart pounding in his chest. As he peered inside, he noticed something utterly inexplicable. The fireworks were moving, shifting and pulsating with an eerie internal light. Panic surged through the family. They scrambled back, their eyes wide with terror, as the fireworks began to ignite within the closed box. The cardboard container pulsed and throbbed, as if alive, as the fireworks erupted inside. John, desperate to protect his family, flung the box away from them, tossing it onto the empty street. The box landed with a thud and silence descended once more. The family stood frozen, their breath caught in their throats, as the last of the fireworks fizzled and died. The silence was shattered by a cacophony of laughter, a chilling, high-pitched laughter that seemed to come from the very air around them. John, his face pale and etched with terror, ushered his family back into the house, their safe haven suddenly feeling incredibly vulnerable. They boarded up the windows, reinforced the doors, and huddled together in the living room, the phantom laughter echoing in their ears. The next day, the Millers packed their belongings and moved, unable to bear the haunting memory of the phantom fireworks and the chilling laughter. Deep in the heart of Redwood National Park, where towering trees cast long, eerie shadows, a group of friends gathered to celebrate the 4th of July. The air vibrated with the sounds of laughter and conversation, the crackling fire casting a warm glow on their faces. Their campsite, nestled beside a pristine lake, seemed like an idyllic escape from the hustle and bustle of everyday life. But beneath the surface of their merriment, a sense of unease lingered, an unspoken dread that crept in with the twilight. As they huddled around the campfire, sharing stories and sipping beers, the first unsettling event occurred. Emily, a free spirit with a contagious laugh, excused herself to use the restroom, a makeshift outhouse a short distance from the campsite. Minutes turned into an eternity as the others waited for her return. When half an hour passed with no sign of her, a wave of concern washed over the group. "Emily?" Mark, her boyfriend, called out, his voice laced with worry. Only silence answered him. He grabbed his flashlight and ventured into the darkness, the others close behind. They searched the area surrounding the campsite, their calls growing increasingly frantic, but Emily was gone. The only trace of her was a single flip-flop lying abandoned on the forest floor, its cheerful floral pattern a stark contrast to the growing sense of dread. As the hours ticked by, the campers' initial concern morphed into full-blown panic. They contacted park rangers who arrived with a search party, but their efforts proved futile. Emily had vanished without a trace, swallowed whole by the dense forest. The remaining campers, their spirits crushed, packed up their belongings and abandoned the campsite, their dreams of a festive getaway shattered. A year later, determined to honor Emily's memory and uncover the truth behind her disappearance, the group of friends returned to the same campsite. They were older now, their faces etched with a sadness that lingered from the previous summer, but their resolve to find answers remained unbroken. They set up camp, their laughter subdued, their eyes constantly scanning the surrounding woods, haunted by the memory of Emily's disappearance. On the second night of their return, as they sat by the crackling fire, the flames casting dancing shadows on their faces, the nightmare repeated itself. This time, it was Ben, the quiet one of the group, who vanished. He had been sitting beside the fire, feeding logs into the flames, when he suddenly stood up and walked towards the tree line. "Where are you going, Ben?" Mark asked, his voice tight with apprehension. Ben didn't answer. He continued walking, his gaze fixed on something unseen in the darkness. The town of Hollow Creek had always taken pride in its annual 4th of July parade. It was a day of joyous celebration, a time for the community to come together and revel in their shared heritage. But beneath the vibrant decorations and cheerful music, a somber history lay dormant. Decades ago, a fire had ripped through the parade route, engulfing the floats and spectators in a raging inferno. Many perished that day, their screams forever etched into the fabric of Hollow Creek. As the years passed, whispers of strange occurrences began to circulate among the townsfolk. People claimed to see shadowy figures flitting through the crowds during the parade, their forms indistinct, their eyes burning with an eerie, otherworldly light. The air grew heavy with the scent of smoke, even on the clearest of days, and the sound of distant screams seemed to echo through the cheers of the crowd. Sarah, a young woman new to Hollow Creek, dismissed these tales as mere folklore. She had always been a skeptic, her logical mind refusing to entertain the possibility of the supernatural. But on this particular 4th of July, as she stood on the sidelines, her skepticism began to waver. The first sign that something was amiss was the sudden drop in temperature. The air, previously warm and festive, turned cold and oppressive, sending a shiver down Sarah's spine. The music, once upbeat and cheerful, now seemed distorted, the melodies warped and unsettling. She glanced around, noticing that the crowd, once animated and lively, now stood eerily still, their faces pale and drawn. As the first float, a replica of the Mayflower, drew closer, Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Atop the float, amidst the costumed pilgrims, stood a figure that sent a jolt of fear through her heart. It was a young woman, her face obscured by a thick veil, her body engulfed in flames. She stared directly at Sarah, her eyes burning with an unholy light. And for a fleeting moment, Sarah could have sworn she heard the woman's silent scream. Panic surged through the crowd as the ghostly figure made its way down the parade route. People stumbled back in terror, their screams swallowed by the cacophony of spectral noises that now filled the air. The floats, once symbols of celebration, now appeared grotesque and menacing, their decorations contorted into nightmarish shapes. Sarah, her heart pounding in her chest, watched in horror as the parade continued, each float carrying its own contingent of ghostly figures. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more terrifying tales. Remember, the world is a strange and mysterious place, full of shadows and secrets. The next time you find yourself celebrating, spare a thought for those who may be lurking just beyond the veil, their stories waiting to be told. Have a safe and spooky 4th of July, and remember, sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones we least expect.